We found over 200 cases of people who were harmed after being deported by the United States to El Salvador. In most of the cases we identified and investigated, that harm occurred within a year of their return, in some longer. And in a couple cases, people were killed within a day of arrival. What we found is that people who suffered harm came from many different categories. They had lived in the United States for a long period of time and then been deported. They had fled abusers, domestic violence in El Salvador, and then were returned by the United States and then suffered harm from the same abusers. Some of them were police officers who fled because of threats from gangs, and then upon being deported were killed by the same people who had threatened them. Others were people who had been recruited into gangs, fled that recruitment, and again were returned and suffered and were killed. What we've concluded, from this research is these enormous flaws that exist in the U.S. asylum and protection system are causing huge harm. We believe the number that we've identified here to be an undercount. We describe our methodology for finding these cases, and what comes out of that methodology is that since no government entity tracks whether deportees are among people who are being murdered or harmed or sexually assaulted, what we've really been able to identify is it could be just the tip of the iceberg. Anyone who says that they're going to enter into the presidency and roll back everything Trump has done is not saying enough. The Trump administration has engaged in a dedicated campaign to eviscerate the right to seek asylum in the United States, and that has resulted in an almost closed space for seeking protection. However, the Trump administration inherited from the Obama administration a flawed system that did not adequately weigh asylum seekers' claims. And that is borne out in this research. People who were deported under the Obama administration also did not have an adequate opportunity to get protection for the threats that they faced upon return to El Salvador. And that's due to a couple things. One is the way that the system works, the lack of due process, lack of attorneys, these overloaded immigration courts. But it's also due to U.S. law and the fact that U.S. law is simply too narrow to protect against the range of threats that people face upon return. And so we recommend that U.S. law should be changed, that we should be not only offering protection to people who qualify on a narrow range of grounds under the current asylum definition, but using the sort of logical standard of is someone going to face a real risk of harm if they're returned? And if so, no matter what the source of that harm, they should be protected from that.